Despite what you may have heard from Al Gore, driving your SUV is not going to contribute to the destruction of planet Earth. In fact, global warming is not the fault of you and your SUV. Rather, climate change is part of a natural process. To convince you of this fact, I will first explain how the Earth's temperature is a natural phenomenon. Then, I will show you how the science of global warming is flawed. And finally, I will propose a different motive for those who seem to be fighting on behalf of planet Earth, a motive where the environment is not exactly the primary concern. All told, there are many things to consider about climate change, so let's get started. The Earth's temperature has always been in flux, and its change is natural. Just look back at the Ice Age as an example of a historical moment when the Earth's temperature drastically shifted. For something more recent, look at the Great Depression in the 1930s and the giant dust bowls that swept away topsoil in Oklahoma, Texas, and various parts of the nation. If these historical events are not enough to convince you about the natural changes our planet's temperature goes through, then here's some scientific research. Kirk A. Maish from PBS says the following: during the past billion years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated between warm periods, sometimes completely ice-free, and cold periods where glaciers scour the continents. The cold periods, or ice ages, are times when the entire Earth experiences notably colder climatic conditions. During an ice age, the polar regions are cold, there are large differences in temperature from the equator to the pole, and large continental-sized glaciers can cover enormous regions of the Earth. Further on in this article, he notes that it is impossible to know the exact cause, because things such as solar activity or the Earth's position relative to the sun can make a significant difference. According to the website skepticalscience.com, every 120,000 years or so, the Earth experiences ice cycles when ice glaciers melt and carbon dioxide is released into the air. ScienceDaily.com also suggests that there were significant climate changes between the year 1200 and 2000. This is something that global warming alarmists seem to ignore. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear what other scientists have to say about the science behind global warming. Al Gore and others who promote the notion that we are destroying the planet by our activities focus on a flawed science that is too narrow and leaves out too many factors. The founder of the Weather Channel is a global warming skeptic. In a speech to the San Diego Chamber of Commerce, John Coleman, the founder of the Weather Channel, said he had read thousands of global warming studies and that they are flawed because their whole case is based on an increase in carbon dioxide. Coleman went on to say that carbon dioxide is normal. We breathe it out, oceans absorb it, and release it back into the air. Coleman also notes that Al Gore was influenced by a Harvard professor who studied carbon dioxide. Even this professor, however, has said that carbon dioxide is not a serious threat. Coleman said if this weren't so serious, it would be laughable. Since this is such a controversial topic, I will offer more evidence that contradicts the claims of alarmists like Al Gore. A GOP website that is hosted by the United States Senate says the following: Nobel Prize winner for physics, Ivar Giver, states, "I am a skeptic. Global warming has become a new religion." Atmospheric scientist Dr. Joni Simpson, who formerly worked for NASA and has co-authored over 190 research studies, noted, "Since I am no longer affiliated with any organization, nor receiving any funding, I can speak frankly. As a scientist, I remain skeptical." A UN IPCC scientist, Dr. Kiminori Ito, who is an award-winning PhD environmental physical chemist, stated, "Warming fears are the worst scientific scandal in the history. When people come to know what the truth is, they will feel deceived by science and scientists." Victor Manuel Velasco Herrera, a researcher at the Institute of Geophysics of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, had some strong reactions as well. The models and forecasts of the UN IPCC are incorrect because they are only based on mathematical models and presented results of scenarios that do not include, for example, solar activity. There are many other researchers from this website that I could quote, but I simply don't have enough time. If there is such a dispute over whether warming exists, what then is the motive for promoting it as fact. Global warming alarmists have a much more personal motive than simply protecting the Earth. Many of the scientists who support global warming receive funding to find support for global warming, meaning they have a vested interest in promoting global warming. The Senate website I mentioned a little while ago notes that award-winning paleontologist Dr. Eduardo Toni claimed that the global warming scaremongering has its justification in the fact that it's something that generates funds. John Coleman, who I also referenced earlier, stated that researchers find global warming so they can get more research money. Coleman also noted that scientists make a living off of this activity, have groupthink, evaluate and approve each other's research, leading to self-replicating research. You should wonder about people who get financial benefits for their research findings. The motives of global warming alarmists are not pure, and neither is their science. So why should we take what they have to say as fact? In conclusion, the Earth's temperature is always fluctuating, and what we call global warming is actually bad science motivated by greed and not fact. Scientific evidence proves that the Earth's temperature is naturally changing and is due to many factors. In fact, there are many reputable scientists who are skeptical of global warming. Unfortunately, some scientists who support the idea of global warming get research grants and approve each other's work for personal gain, thus perpetuating the idea that global warming is a fact. But global warming is at best a theory, supported by poor science, so we should not take it as fact. Before we give up our SUVs and radically alter our lives, maybe we should just ask Al Gore why looking at good science might be inconvenient for his truth.